Michelle Mellon, author of Down by the Sea and Other Tales of Dark Destiny, and this is our final episode of Dark Destiny Dissected, episode 14, and today we are going to be talking about Nameless. Nameless is my favorite of my stories to date. I originally wrote a version of it for an anthology called Potter's Field, but it was rejected. I'm actually happy for that because I got some good feedback on the story. It made me take a hard look at it and make it into a much stronger story. So I'm very happy with where it ended up. In 2005, I submitted Nameless for the inaugural issue of the Silent Voices Literary Journal. Not only was it accepted, but it won the prize for their short story contest, the Editor's Prize. And so that was a great introduction into, my first published stories, I guess. Even though Nameless was the first one I had accepted for publication, it was the second one I had actually published. The idea for the story was inspired by a trip to my mother's childhood home in Cambridge, which is on the eastern shore of Maryland. So the setting in the story is derived entirely from that visit. And then there are some small elements that I plucked from my mother's life and kind of sprinkled throughout the story, but most of it just comes from my own fanciful thoughts about what it would be like to live in isolation like that in a secluded community. And then, of course, reflecting on my African American heritage and my own fears about death. So I hope you enjoy this excerpt from Nameless, and we'll check out Down by the Sea and Other Tales of Dark Destiny to read more. She shakes off the memories and takes another look around. In front of her, the trees hold captive a large, dilapidated wooden shack in the middle of a meadow marked in regular patterns of field stone. She knows from her grandmother's stories that the shack served as a church in the 1800s, a place where the slaves could come and talk and sing and worship in secret. She moves to the doorway and peeks inside. There are no pews or chairs. The walls bear some carvings, but none are from the people who have been cradled by the ground around here for 2 centuries. The graves are only hinted at by those broken pieces of fieldstone outside. Many of the markers have fallen over or been broken by vandals. None of the stones bear any inscriptions. She leaves her bags near the front of the building, grabs a flashlight, and walks to the back toward what's left of the pulpit area. As she picks her way through the dirt, weeds, and animal droppings covering the plank flooring, she scans for a place to clear debris and set up camp. She reaches a wooden altar that has been crushed by beams that appear to have only recently fallen in from the back portion of the roof. On the side of the altar facing her is a large hole, and she sweeps it with a flashlight to make sure there are no animals nesting inside. Instead, she sees what appears to be a box. She struggles with it, her muscles weakened by her journey, her breathing weakened by her illness. When it pops free, the force pushes her back onto her heels, and then she falls forward again, kneeling. The box is made of woven reeds, perhaps from the cattails ringing the pond back in the other direction on the road. She opens it and gasps. Inside is a small book, made of stitched-together pages between plain bark covers. The handwriting is small and uneven, but she has no doubt this is a registry of the church members, and the small drawing beside their names is a map of their burial plots in the surrounding field. She rubs her finger carefully down the list of names and finds a surname that matches her own. She knows firsthand that the exploration and documentation of slave graveyards is timely and difficult, and rarely rewarded with an artifact like the one she holds in her hands. Back in what she already thinks of as her other life, a discovery like this would have made her year as a historian on local history. She feels a strong urge to light a candle on the broken altar and give thanks for the gift. But the daylight is gone, and she has more important things to tackle. She stands, finds her way back to her belongings, and clears a space near the front and off to the side, where the remaining roof cover seems to be the strongest. She has a peanut butter sandwich and some bottled water for dinner, and falls asleep dreaming of chicken and biscuits and fresh honey. There is a sound in her head. It's low, like the buzzing bees, but there are words this time. She listens harder. She can't understand them, but she understands the emotions behind them. She opens her eyes. The small church is filled with bodies, or rather, the memory of bodies that once were. Skins once black or gray with death. She stares at the stiff backs of men, women, and children sitting on the floor. Some of the bare backs are marked with scars, raised and puckered like giant earthworms. Her lips rear back at the sight, as if in their rapid flight they might pull open her jaws and allow the scream inside to escape. But a lifetime of stoicism prevails, and the sound is buried within, trapped in a brittle nest of unexpressed emotions.